Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska to respond to all of this. Congressman Bacon, thank you so much for joining us. Basically, we're seeing the divide in your party play out right now. I want to read you what Senator Lindsey Graham said. He said this operation has been well planned. It will be violent, extensive, and I believe at the end of the day, successful. Freedom for the long-suffering Iranian people, he says. Here is former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I did not campaign for this. I did not donate money for this. I did not vote for this in elections or Congress. This is heartbreaking and tragic, and how many more innocent will die? Congressman, where do you stand? How do you see this?
Well, I hope Senator Graham is right. But I will acknowledge war is unpredictable. You don't know, it's high risk. And so this is a high risk operation. But I lean on the side of Senator Graham here because I've been on the receiving end of Iranian terrorism strikes. I've lost good friends. Iran has been waging war against us since 1979. Their first big terrorism hit was in Beirut, 1983. We lost hundreds of Marines. And we've seen these kind of strikes from Iran, the IRGC in particular, all the way through. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was when the regime kills approximately 50,000 Iranians in these protests. And I think from a humanitarian point of view, the free world's got to stand up and say this is unacceptable. But I'll be the first to say it's high risk, unpredictable. But the world, I think the world cannot coexist with the Ayatollah and his regime and, the threats that they pose to all of us.
Senator Lindsey Graham says this could be a conflict that lasts for days, if not weeks, potentially longer than that, Congressman. Are you okay with that? Do you support a military operation of that size and scope?
Well, I hate to see it, but if that's what it takes to take down this regime, I do think there's a large underground movement that we're working with. I think the Israelis are very attuned. The Israelis have incredible intelligence on the ground. So I have no doubt we're working with opposition leaders in Iran. Well, and they're going to need our air power support to help weaken the army and the police trying to suppress these protesters. And I think this is how this operation is designed. Go after the leadership, weaken the army and the police's ability to tamp down on these protesters and help the protesters take over. I think that's the design of this operation. I hope it's successful. And I pray for our men and women in uniform that, that we don't have casualties. But it's high risk, but I think it's overdue. We have lost probably around 2,000 Americans to IRGC terrorism strikes since 1979. We lost 609 Americans alone in Iraq from these Shia militias. And I felt like back then we should have done something then. Why should Iran kill American soldiers so freely that they did, and we didn't do anything? And so this bill is due, and it's time that we pay it on the regime.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said, which is you hope that the protesters take over. It seems like that was what President Trump was arguing for. He had that very strong message to the people of Iran. He said, now is your moment to effectively overthrow your government. Is that realistic? How complicated is that? And who would replace the Ayatollah?
Well, there's a pretty large underground network within Iran, and they've been in contact with me over the years, wanting to get rid of the Ayatollah and replace him. Again, Kristen, this is high risk. It's unpredictable. That's why war should be the case of last resort. If you read Clausewitz, Sun Tzu, Jomini, they always say war is unpredictable and bad things happen. All I can say is Iran has been at war with us since 1979. They've been waging war against our country, our allies, since 1979, and we have not really responded. And I think this response is overdue. And it's time to have it out and try to destroy this regime.
The administration believes it is possible, has made the case it's possible to overthrow the Iranian government without U.S. boots on the ground. Congressman, given that you understand what is required in these types of military operations, do you think that's a realistic assessment? Can this be done without U.S. boots on the ground?
I think it's high risk. It's not guaranteed that it can get done. Just to be honest about it, I hope it can be done. Hope is not a good strategy. all I can say is there's probably a lot more work going on under the surface that we don't know with the remnants within Iran right now. So I'm sure we've been in high-level contact with folks within Iran, and I will tell you, the Israelis know what's going on in Iran better than the Iranians do. You could tell today we struck a meeting with the high-level leadership in Iran. How did we know they were there? Well, it was Israeli intelligence that helped us. So I believe there's a lot more connections that we know that we don't know about, that they're there. And that's what we're going to try to leverage to overthrow this regime and let the people. But our dream is a free Iran that's at peace with its neighbors and an Iran that does not have nuclear weapons. That's our vision.
Congressman, does President Trump need to make his case to the American people? Right now, there are no plans for him to address the country today. Does he need to make his case to the United States?
I believe he does. He should make his case to the United States, to the citizens, but also to Congress. I'm generally supportive. I think this has been long overdue. I wish previous presidents would have taken this action, frankly. But it's by law, he should come to Congress now, tell us what the plans are. I was a little reluctant to do that before the strikes because you don't want to give away surprise. But we have a system here where Congress is an equal branch of government, and he should come and make his case and talk about what the future plans are. What are the objectives? I've always knew there was a fork in the road. Is he going to go after nuclear weapons, or is he going to go after regime change? Two totally different targeting strategies. And we can tell today it's regime change.
Do you think, to that point, I don't know if you heard my conversation with Senator Andy Kim, but he is calling on Congress to come back on Monday. He says that it is time for Congress to vote on the War Powers resolution, to have a say, to demand that Congress have any oversight over any more military action in Iran. Do you agree with him? Does Congress need to come back? Is it that urgent and hold a vote on the War Powers resolution?
We're going to be back on Wednesday. And, I guess I got mixed feelings about what Senator Kim is saying. He's been a friend. I've worked with him. I do think the president should come to Congress and say, well, here's the objectives, here's the plan. I think if these are sustained operations, we should vote on a War Powers resolution. I would be inclined to vote for it, to support the president. But Congress should maintain its authorities. And also, the president has a stronger hand when Congress gives their support to operations. It gives him more legitimacy. So instead of the president fearing congressional involvement, he should embrace it, because when we support him, it gives him the authorities, it gives him the legitimacy of these operations. And as I mentioned, Kristen, I'd be inclined to support it because I've had good friends killed by this Iranian regime.
And Congressman, just very quickly, and just to be very clear, have you gotten any type of briefing, warning, heads up from the administration at this point? I know that they did brief the Gang of Eight, of which you are not a part, but was there any wider outreach to Congress?
No, but I do know they've briefed some of our chairmen. I think it was on Wednesday morning before we left. And so, like, our chairman of the Armed Services Committee, the Intelligence Committee, so it wasn't just the Gang of Eight that have been briefed. There's been a lot more, or more down to the chairman and ranking member level, but I have not. And I anticipate getting briefed this coming week.
And one more finally before I let you go. Iran has obviously already started to retaliate against U.S. bases in the region. Are you surprised by the speed with which Iran has retaliated in this instance, Congressman?
No, I think we've been tipping our hand with all the Navy units and the Air Force movements. Iran has had time to come up with their plans. They have 1,000 ballistic missiles that can strike. And so they're a very dangerous adversary for our air bases, our Navy bases, and our allies. But you can't be blackmailed. You can't be extorted by Iran. So this is, so I'm not surprised.
All right. Congressman Don Bacon, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.